Discover the incredible journey, 1 hour to transform your life with hidden billionaire secrets. Emma's hands trembled as she opened the faded diary, the dust swirling around her like forgotten dreams. This wasn't just any old book, it was a lifeline, an abandoned map leading to treasures buried deep in her family's past. Secrets of a billionaire, she whispered to herself, her voice laced with hope. 4 years, living in the shadow of a struggling Midwestern town, every day felt like trudging uphill with stones in her shoes. But now, perhaps, she had stumbled upon something that could change it all, the tale of her uncle, a man who turned rags into riches. When she was knee-deep in bills and empty plates, her imagination soared. Lucas, her 10-year-old son, was the sparkling light in her otherwise dim existence. Each time he smiled, Emma felt a small shudder of hope. But school was torment for him, with classmates whispering loser under their breath, taunting him over his worn shoes. Their judgment was sharp, just like the glares she often received from the townsfolk. How did they not see her struggle? To them, she was just another single mom striving to keep her head above water. The weight of their expectations pressed heavily on her shoulders. As she flipped through the diary's pages, vibrant dreams unfolded. Her uncle's stories echoed back resilience, determination, and the meaning of family. She could almost see him, standing tall against the winds of judgment he had faced. That evening, a flicker of ambition ignited within Emma. What if she could use her grandmother's recipes, the ones that made every meal feel like a warm embrace? What if she started her own little catering business? The thought fluttered inside her, urging her to take action, but just as she began mapping out her unique offerings, a setback struck like a lightning bolt. Her former boss at the grocery store, tasting envy, spread rumors that Emma could never climb out of the pit she was in. She's just another struggling single mom, they'd whisper, sullying her name. The pain knotted in her stomach. Every time Lucas looked at her, she saw him wince, feeling the weight of her dreams crushing him beneath the burdens she carried. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue with renewed energy. She returned to her uncle's words, relying on them as a lifeline through the stifling darkness. She decided that enough was enough. It was time to fight back, to set an example for Lucas that strength surpassed mere financial stability. Just as she started gaining traction, she felt the resolve of her community, ready to tear her down at the first sign of failure. Then, as if fate had a cruel sense of humor, the revelations of her uncle's past surfaced, bringing forth a hidden truth. Did the choices he made lead to the misfortunes that lingered over their family? Could she truly reshape her destiny? As she stood on the brink of change, emotions surged: hope, pain, fear, and she realized her fight was not just for herself, but for Lucas, too. The shadows of the past loomed too close, challenging whether she could break free from this cycle for good. Would she forge ahead, or would she be swallowed by the doubts that stuck to her like a second skin? Emma closed the diary, her heart pounding. The whispers of her uncle's past tangled with her own dreams, creating an uneasy storm of emotions. She could almost feel the weight of his choices resting on her shoulders. Could she really forge a different path? Sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, Emma's mind raced. She grabbed a blank notebook and a pen, determined to outline her plans. So, what do I need? She mumbled. A name, some recipes, a plan. Her thoughts were abruptly interrupted by Lucas's laughter from the kitchen. He had found a snow globe she had kept from her childhood, and the sound of his joy melted the anxiety constricting her chest. She could do this. It was more than just a dream, it was a promise to him. If she succeeded, it would just change their lives. It would show Lucas that anything was possible. She jotted down names for the business. Emma's Comfort Catering, Grandma's Love in Every Bite, Taste of Home. Each name sent tiny sparks of excitement through her. Yet, The moment she envisioned crafting beautiful meals, a shadow flickered in her mind: the gossip, the judgments, the fear of failure. Would they laugh if her idea fell flat? "Mom, can we shake the snow globe together?" Lucas called, his voice bursting with enthusiasm. Emma smiled at the innocence in his tone. Why should she let fear hold her back? They could shake that snow globe together, just like she would shake off the negativity swirling around her. She hurried into the kitchen and sat beside him, watching the tiny flakes swirl in the liquid. "It looks so magical," she said, her eyes wide. "You know, Mom," Lucas glanced sideways, "if you start your catering, it'll be magic, too. Like a fairy tale." "Exactly," she replied, her heart swelling with pride. "Just like the stories in this diary." As they shared that simple moment, Emma felt a flicker of determination solidify within her. The restaurant in town was looking to cater for the upcoming Harvest Festival. It felt like a golden opportunity. She could showcase her grandmother's recipes, let her creativity flow, and put the whispers to rest. Lucid visions danced in her mind: tables laden with delicious food, families laughing and enjoying each other's company. "I could really do this," she murmured, barely believing the words. "No, Mom. You'll do it," Lucas said, grinning at her. His confidence lit her soul like a flame on a cold night. With a newfound resolve, Emma dove deeper into planning. She gathered family recipes, tweaked them, and began cooking practice runs as she scribbled grocery lists. Each successful batch filled her with joy, pushing the ugly doubt further into the corners of her mind. The day of the festival drew near, and excitement buzzed through the house. She roped in some of Lucas's friends to help make flyers, and together, they created a colorful advertisement that would draw the community's eyes. But as she scanned the final product, that familiar worry crept back. Would anyone come? Breathing deeply, Emma placed a comforting hand on Lucas's shoulder. "This is going to be our day, together." He beamed back, eyes sparkling with belief, and the worry faded into the background. She couldn't back down now. It was time to prove to everyone and herself that she wasn't just another struggling single mom. Yet, as she stood at the entrance to the festival, butterflies danced in her stomach. Would the townsfolk support her, or would old judgments resurface, breaking her stride? Just then, a chill blew through the air, stirring her resolve. As she stepped forward, ready to embrace the crowd, little did she know that her past was closer than she thought, and judgment is sometimes dressed in a familiar face. Would she step into light, or fade back into the shadows? As Emma walked through the buzz of the festival, the sounds of laughter and chatter mingled in the air, creating an infectious energy. Colorful booths lined the path, with locals displaying crafts and wares. The aroma of roasted corn and caramel apples wafted through the crowd, reminding Emma of simpler days. She stood a bit taller, wanting to believe today could be the start of something beautiful. Lucas tugged on her sleeve, his eyes wide as he pointed toward a booth with colorful balloons. "Mom, can we get one?" The innocence in his voice reminded her of what mattered most. At that moment, she wasn't just a struggling single mom, she was a dreamer, and she had a plan. "Of course we can," Emma replied, the smile brightening her face as they meandered through the crowd. But with each step, the excitement that bubbled inside her clashed with the shadows of doubt that crept in. Clenching her fists together, she fought them back. No, today wasn't about fear, it was about hope. They finally reached her booth, the colorful flyer fluttering gently in the breeze. Emma took a deep breath, soaking in the sight. The tables were set, adorned with cloths in soft pastel colors, her grandma's family recipes carefully handwritten on a menu board. It felt almost unreal, like stepping into a scene from a movie. "Look at all the people!" Lucas exclaimed, his voice cutting through her thoughts. She turned to see a steady stream of festival-goers moving toward her setup. For a moment, joy rushed through her veins, but as the first few faces wandered closer, a wave of anxiety crashed against her. Would they be disappointed? Would they see her, not the careful preparations and love she poured into the dishes? "Ben. Over here." A voice echoed through the crowd, and a familiar figure broke through, the owner of the very restaurant she was catering for. Emma's stomach dropped as she recognized him. All the years of his dismissive remarks and skepticism flooded back. What if he was here to judge her? Emma! He called out, striding up with a handful of people trailing behind him. Her heart raced as he approached. She urged herself not to shrink back. Whether he liked it or not, this was her moment. "Hi, Ben," she managed, forcing a smile that felt both genuine and fragile at the same time. He glanced around, taking in the setup. "Nice display," he said, sounding surprisingly impressed. Was it possible he didn't recognize her meekness from the past? "Thank you. I'm really excited about this," she said, her voice gaining strength. Lucas was watching, and she could feel his pride bolstering her confidence. Despite the anxiety fluttering in her chest, she would not let herself fade. "This looks like a lot of work." "What's on the menu?" Ben asked, nodding toward the board. Emma's heart fluttered. She could feel the weight of the moment. Could she articulate the essence of her grandmother's recipes? Each dish breathed memories and stories. "Chicken pot pie with my grandma's secret crust, the best macaroni and cheese you'll ever taste," and she paused, catching her breath. "Chocolate chip cookies, made from scratch." At that moment, something changed in Ben's expression. Curiosity mixed with interest. "Can I try a sample?" he asked, his voice softer than before. "Absolutely." Without hesitation, Emma began plating samples. As she arranged them neatly on the table, she felt her fears melting slightly beneath the warmth of the moment. Maybe this was her chance to finally break free from past judgments. "Mom, you've got this," Lucas whispered, his eyes sparkling with belief. Emma turned back to Ben, who now stood, tasting the dishes. She watched, holding her breath. Would this be the turning point she so desperately needed? As he chewed thoughtfully, Emma's heart thundered, caught in anticipation. What would he say? Little did she know, it was not just Ben's reaction that would change everything. The festival was about to unveil its own surprises, and there were whispers of someone from her past watching closely from the shadows, someone who would challenge everything she thought she knew. Would Emma rise to the occasion, or would doubts threaten to pull her back? Emma's heart raced as she watched Ben take another bite. She could feel every second stretching, tense with uncertainty. Would he smile? Would he turn and walk away, unimpressed? Each chew felt like a lifetime. The festival, once bustling, faded into a blur, her world narrowing down to that single moment. Finally, Ben swallowed, his expression inscrutable. He set the plate down and leaned in closer, eyebrows raised in genuine surprise. "Emma, this is really good. Seriously." A breath she didn't realize she was holding escaped her. Was this a flicker of hope? "Thanks. It's my grandma's recipe," she said, her voice now having a tremor of excitement. Memory surged, her grandmother's warm kitchen, the scent of baking cookies wafting through the air as they danced while they waited for perfection. Ben nodded, a small grin breaking the seriousness of his features. "What you've got here could bring some serious competition to what we serve. I might have to rethink our menu." Her stomach flipped with a mix of joy and disbelief. Was he actually endorsing her work? That would be amazing, she exclaimed, the thrill in her voice echoing in her ears. But lurking beneath all that excitement was the subtly persistent voice of doubt whispering, "What if this is too good to be true?" Just as she was about to propose the idea of collaborating on a dish, a sudden commotion from the crowd drew her attention. People were beginning to murmur and point towards the back of the festival. Emma turned, curiosity piqued. The flow of bodies parted like waves, revealing a tall figure stepping into view. Her breath caught. It was Daniel, the boy who had once been her best friend, and later, her biggest heartbreak. His presence felt electric, a jolt from the past rushing back like an old song. She felt a wave of emotions wash over her: nostalgia, anger, lingering affection. "Emma." Lucas's voice pulled her back to the moment. He tugged on her sleeve again, his wide eyes darting between her and the figure approaching. "Do I know him?" he asked innocently, but the question rattled in Emma's chest. How could she explain Daniel to Lucas? Just someone from. She hesitated, unsure how to frame the tangled history. "A long time ago. Mom," he asked, coming over. And sure enough, Daniel was striding directly towards them, his confidence palpable. Emma's heart raced for a different reason now, the mixture of joy and anxiety colliding inside her. She squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, grounding herself. When she opened them, there he was, standing just a few feet away, looking as handsome as ever, his familiar smile tinged with surprise. "Emma. Wow, it's really you," he said, the softness of his voice making her toes curl. "Daniel," she replied, managing a shaky smile, feeling the weight of all their shared memories hanging unspoken in the air between them. "I heard you were here and had to see it for myself." "It looks incredible," he said, glancing at the booth with a warmth that made her cheeks flush. She didn't know what to say. All those years of silence had led them here. Did he see her differently now? Was he proud of her? As questions flooded her mind, Emma couldn't escape the urge to go deeper into their story, to explore the meaning behind this unexpected reunion. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a sudden cheer erupted from nearby, pulling everyone's attention. Fireworks lit up the sky above the festival, brilliant sparks raining down like confetti. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and dazzling lights, Emma felt the weight of the world slipping away. But she knew the true fireworks were beginning with the rekindling of her connection with Daniel. "Emma," he said, stepping closer, "can we talk?" Her heart trembled with uncertainty, but curiosity fueled her. This felt like the beginning of something big, something transformative. What revelations awaited her? Would they bridge the chasm of their past? The night was still young, and her journey was just beginning. Daniel's voice sliced through the revelry around them, creating a bubble of intimacy amidst the festival's chaos. Emma could barely comprehend his request. The ground beneath her felt unsteady, and for a fleeting moment, she wanted to retreat, to hide among the festival's joyful sounds. Yet, there was something in his gaze, something earnest that pulled her in. "Sure," she replied, forcing confidence into her voice. Lucas tugged at her sleeve again. "Can I come?" His innocent eyes sparkled with curiosity, but Emma felt a surge of protectiveness wash over her. This was a conversation she needed to have, one that required honesty, one that thrummed with intensity. "Maybe you can give us a second, buddy," she suggested gently, kneeling to meet his eye level. "Okay, but I'll be right over there," he assured her, pointing to an ice cream stand a little way off. Emma nodded, already feeling a twist of guilt. She watched Lucas scamper off, chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream in hand, before turning her full attention back to Daniel. "Let us go this way," he said, gesturing towards a quieter spot by a row of trees. They walked side by side, her heart thumping louder with each step. Breathing deeply, she tried to gather her thoughts. The fireworks crackled above, dazzling her with their colors, yet nothing compared to the heat radiating from Daniel beside her. His presence felt both familiar and painfully new. "Wow, you've really changed, Emma," he began, stopping beneath the foliage. His eyes searched hers, seeming to look for something lost. "I've thought about you a lot over the years." His voice was soft, laden with unspoken stories that made her stomach twist. She swallowed hard. "Me too," she admitted, the honesty both freeing and terrifying. "It's hard not to think about the past." He nodded, as if they were both standing on the edge of a chasm, uncertain of what lay beneath. "So much has happened since you know." "Yeah, it's been a really long time." Emma looked away, her heart pounding in her chest. She could still picture their long summer days filled with laughter, the quiet moments shared under the stars, and how abruptly it had all shifted into silence and hurt. "How is your cooking? I heard you were doing well." She couldn't help but smile, pride swelling within her. "I've been working really hard. The festival is a big deal for me. Especially trying to make my grandma's recipes perfect." Daniel's gaze softened. I remember how much you love spending time in the kitchen. It's great to see you doing what you love. His words felt like a warm blanket on a chilly night, wrapping around her insecurities. They stood there, caught in a moment, a silence drumming with everything left unsaid. Just as Daniel opened his mouth to speak again, the laughter of festivalgoers, along with a sudden burst of fireworks, interrupted the moment, casting a dazzling light around them. The colors illuminated Daniel's face, highlighting both the joy and concern etched in his expression. "Emma, there is something I need to," he started, but before he finished, a shrill scream cut through the celebrations. A woman stumbled into their path, her expression frantic. "Help! Someone else collapsed back there." The festival's energy shifted in an instant, excitement morphing into panic. Emma's heart sank. Daniel took a step forward, grounding himself in the moment. "We should go help," he urged, and without waiting for her reply, he turned toward the sound. "Wait. What about?" But Emma realized that their conversation would have to wait. Something urgent was happening, and now they needed to act. As she hurried after him, the reality of their unfinished dialogue loomed. Would she ever get the chance to truly unravel their tangled history? And in the flurry of chaos, Emma couldn't escape the feeling that just as one chapter was beginning, another was about to be rewritten. What awaited her as they navigated this unexpected crisis? Emma's heart raced as she followed Daniel's determined strides. The laughter and music of the festival faded, replaced by the urgency in the air. People were beginning to gather, a circle forming around a figure lying on the ground. "Stay close," Daniel called back over his shoulder. Emma quickened her pace, squeezing through a throng of concerned festivalgoers, her worries for Lucas gnawing at her insides. She wanted them both to be okay, to not step into a moment so charged with life and death. They reached the edge of the crowd, and Emma could see a woman prone on the grass, her face pale against the vibrant colors of the celebration around her. A few others were already kneeling beside her, checking for signs of consciousness. "What happened?" Daniel asked, his voice steady as he crouched down, scanning the scene. "She just collapsed," a man shouted, a tremor in his voice. "We were just dancing, and then she just fell." Emma felt a wave of nausea wash over her. This could happen to anyone. It could have been her, it could have been Lucas just a moment ago, laughing with his ice cream. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the crowd, feeling the eyes of the onlookers on her. "Daniel, maybe we should check her pulse." He nodded, quick to take action, as the man next to them relayed his attempts to rouse the woman. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Emma reached for the woman's wrist, her fingers trembling as she searched for a heartbeat. There it was, faint but steady. She felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. "She is still alive," Emma exclaimed, feeling the tension of the crowd shift slightly. Daniel's relief was palpable. "We need to keep her calm. Can you talk to her?" he asked, as he began relaying the information to a bystander who was reaching for their phone to call for help. "Hey, it's okay," Emma said gently, her voice soothing as she focused on the woman's eyes, which fluttered open momentarily. "You're going to be okay. Just breathe." The woman blinked up at her, confusion clouding her features. Emma held her hand, offering warmth. She could feel the buzz of panic around her but pushed it aside. "You're at the festival. Just rest. Someone's calling for help." Daniel was beside her, a grounding presence as they worked together to keep the woman calm. They exchanged glances, silently communicating the weight of the moment, the urgency, the memories of years past adding layers to their connection. "What if we can't help her?" Emma whispered, doubt creeping in as she watched the woman's eyes flutter closed again. "Just keep talking," Daniel urged, his voice steady. "Sometimes, just being here helps." And she believed him. She shifted closer, her heart aching for this stranger who lay before them, encapsulated by a moment so unexpected. "You're doing great, stay with us," she kept repeating, holding the woman's hand tighter. Minutes felt like hours, and just as fear threatened to overwhelm her, the familiar sound of sirens tore through the air. The crowd instinctively shifted, The realization that help was on the way sparked a collective sigh of relief. As the paramedics rushed in, Emma felt her heart settle, but the space beside her felt suddenly filled with an absence. Daniel straightened up and stepped back, the work they did done together beginning to slip away like sand through fingers. We need to find Lucas. I can't just leave him here, Emma said, suddenly feeling the weight of her responsibilities pressed down on her. Right, Daniel replied, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. You go, I'll stay here. Emma hesitated, a knot forming in her gut. Just when she thought their moment was bound to evolve, it felt like they were pulling away again. Will we talk later? She called over her shoulder as she stepped back into the throng of people. Daniel's eyes held hers, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. Absolutely. But as she turned away, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the night was far from over. The festival lights twinkled around her, but a shadow had fallen over her heart. Why was it that every time a connection sparked, chaos seemed to follow? Lucas? Where are you? She called, scanning through the crowd, her mind already racing to the next moment, the next revelation, as an unsettling thought crept in. What if the unfolding night was just beginning to unravel a truth she wasn't yet ready to face? Lucas? Emma's heart pounded as she pushed through the sea of faces. The vibrant festival, with its twinkling lights and joyous sounds, had turned into a blur of concern. Each step felt heavier, laced with anxiety. Where could he be? Panicked thoughts chased through her mind. Had he wandered too far? Was he scared? The memory of his laughter moments ago echoed in her ears. How could this be happening? She murmured to herself, desperation creeping into her voice. People were still clustered around the paramedics tending to the stricken woman, and Emma could hear snippets of conversations, faint whispers of relief, fear, and curiosity. But her focus was laser-sharp. Lucas was out there, somewhere in the crowd, and she had to find him. Excuse me, she called, gently pushing past a woman admiring the festival's decorations. Have you seen a little boy, about this tall, with brown hair? The woman shook her head, a sympathetic expression painted across her face. Emma's heart sank, but she pressed on, asking more people as she navigated through the festival. Each shake of the head felt like a weight added to her chest. Lucas! She shouted again, her voice tinged with panic. The charming melodies of the event felt like a mockery now, each note a jolt to her nerves. Movement caught her eye. She turned toward the edge of a nearby food stall just as she caught a glimpse of brown curls disappearing behind it. Lucas! Relief flooded through her, igniting an urgency in her legs. She sprinted toward where she had seen him. Rounding the stall, she nearly collided with him. Lucas looked up, wide-eyed, one hand clutching a cone of cotton candy as if it were a lifeline. Mom, he squealed, his face lighting up. Thank goodness, she said, hugging him tight, her heart racing for more reasons than one. What were you thinking? You scared me. I wanted to get candy, he said brightly, oblivious to her panic. But I didn't know where you went. Taking a deep breath to steady her heart, Emma knelt to his level. You need to stay where I can see you. Promise me you won't wander off like that again. Okay, Lucas said, his innocence mixing with a hint of understanding. Emma's heart swelled with love, but a new wave of anxiety washed over her as she looked around again, reminding herself of the gravity that had just unfolded. The festival was still alive, but a shadow loomed over her joy. She couldn't shake the feeling of disorientation, as if the night was being written by forces beyond her control. She took his hand, starting to gently lead him away. Let us find somewhere we can sit for a bit, she suggested, trying to keep her voice light despite the gnawing worry. Can we get more cotton candy? He asked, his eyes sparkling. Maybe let us just breathe for a moment. But the truth was, Emma felt the heaviness settling back in. Just when she thought she'd managed to stabilize one part of her world, the ground shifted again. As they wove around stalls and booths, Emma's thoughts drifted back to Daniel. The promise of a conversation hung in the air, tantalizing yet distant. Would they really talk later? What would they even say? In that moment of deep reflection, she almost didn't hear the cacophony of gasps and murmurs rising ahead of them. Emma's heart stuttered as she caught sight of a gathering crowd, excitement mixing uneasily with the unease in her chest. "What now?" she whispered, pulling Lucas close. The energy shifted. She squeezed his hand tighter. A woman stood on a makeshift stage, her voice booming into the night. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special surprise for you." Emma shared a quick glance with Lucas, her stomach tightening at the sudden unpredictability of the evening. "Come on, let us check it out," she said, leading him closer, trying to shake the knot in her gut. But deep down, she couldn't ignore the feeling that something about this festival wasn't just lively, it felt charged. And just as the woman spoke again, announcing the surprise, Emma's mind raced with fear and hope. What if this surprise unraveled more secrets she wasn't ready to confront? From the stage came words that would change everything. Emma tensed as the woman's voice echoed, "Tonight, we reveal our special guest, someone who has overcome incredible odds." The crowd buzzed with excitement, but all Emma could feel was a weight in her chest. This wasn't just about entertainment, she felt a ripple of something deeper, a connection to her own longing for change and resolution. The crowd shifted, and Emma found herself swept into a wave of bodies pushing toward the stage. "Mom, can we go closer?" Lucas's eyes lit up with curiosity, his small hand tugging at her. She hesitated, glancing at the stage and back to him. "Okay, just stay close to me," she replied, her heart still pounding as they moved forward. The air crackled with energy as the crowd hushed. Emma's gut twisted as she wondered if this surprise would bring answers to the questions swirling in her mind. Would it reveal truths she wasn't ready for? Or perhaps, a glimpse of hope? As the woman on stage gestured grandly, a figure stepped into the spotlight. Emma squinted, trying to see better. And then it hit her, a wave of recognition surged through her as the man on stage smiled broadly. It was Daniel. "Is that?" Lucas's voice trailed off, confusion mixed with inquiry. Emma nodded, her heart racing. "Yeah, it's him." Her voice was barely a whisper, her world spinning. Just days ago, they had shared the seriousness of their situation, but now he was front and center, captivating an audience with effortless charm. "Welcome, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here," Daniel said, his voice resonating with warmth. Emma's breath caught. His passion was infectious, and she could see he was truly in his element. He began to share stories of his challenging early life, of struggle and resilience. Each word tugged at her heart more tightly. As he spoke, Emma felt a connection she hadn't anticipated. This wasn't just a speech, it was a glimpse into the growth that could come from disaster, the light that could be found in dark times. Her throat constricted as she thought about her own struggles. Would she ever find a path like his? The audience hung on every word, laughter and applause punctuating his narrative. Emma's chest swelled with pride but also with a gnawing sense of impatience. Why hadn't they talked about her fears, about their own shared experiences? They had been gathered around darkness, yet here he was radiating light. As Daniel continued, he turned toward the crowd, his gaze wandering until it landed on Emma's face. Their eyes locked for a heartbeat, just a fleeting moment, but it felt electric. Was he reaching out to her in this sea of people? "Life is unpredictable," he said emphatically. "We all have moments of doubt, but it's about how we choose to respond." Her heart raced. This was the moment she had been waiting for. She wanted to know how he had made it through, what had changed in him. Would he share his secrets to transformation now? Would he acknowledge her in this public space and recognize the shared dreams they had? But just then, a loud crash erupted from the edge of the festival grounds. Emma and Lucas turned sharply, fear gripping her. In that instant, the crowd swelled in confusion as people began to scream and push back. Emma's instincts kicked in. "Lucas, stay close." Panic surged back, overwhelming her in a wave. The festival lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across their faces. She could feel Daniel's gaze still on her. What would happen next? Would this surprise turn into something she wasn't ready to face? Would she have a chance to bridge the distance that had grown between them? Everything around them went silent, and in that quiet, Emma braced herself for what was about to unfold. The echo of the crash hung in the air, sharp and disorienting. Emma's heart pounded as she scanned the crowd, searching for any signs of panic or danger. Lucas clutched at her leg, his small frame trembling. She crouched down to meet his eyes, steadying her breath to reassure him. "It's okay, buddy. Just hold on to me," she whispered. Yet her own heart raced with uncertainty. Nothing could have prepared her for the chaos that ensued. People rushed in every direction, confusion morphing the once jovial atmosphere into something hostile. Emma caught sight of Daniel, his expression shifting from charisma to concern as he searched the crowd. He seemed torn between his duty to the audience and the instinct to protect. "Mom, what's happening?" Lucas's voice quivered, and Emma could feel panic starting to bloom again in her chest. "I don't know, sweetie, but we need to stay together," she said, trying to sound calmer than she felt. The ground beneath her shifted, making it hard to stand firm. In the turmoil, the biting question loomed: was there real danger? Or was this just a miscalculation in the excitement of the evening? As people jostled by, Emma held on tighter to Lucas's hand, guiding him through the throng of bodies. She instinctively moved them toward the edge of the festival grounds, where they could catch their breath. There, she glanced back at the stage. Daniel stood at the mic, his voice now rising above the fray, trying to calm the chaos. "Everyone, please. Remain calm," he urged, but his own eyes betrayed a flicker of concern. That vulnerability made her heart twist. The moment was intense. Part of her longed to reach out to him, to yell out his name, to let him know she needed him, needed answers about their lives and the future they were navigating. But the other part was paralyzed by fear and disbelief. Would she even be able to speak amidst this storm? A siren wailed in the distance, drowning out the noise of the festival. Emma's heart sank. There was a reason to panic now. Something real was happening, and she couldn't shake the feeling that chaos had crossed a line. "Let us go, Mom. We need to get out of here." Lucas tugged again, his small face pale beneath the festival lights. Okay, Emma replied, prioritizing his safety above all else. They turned away from the stage, but as they walked, she caught a glimpse of Daniel again, still trying to stabilize the crowd. It was so surreal, watching him shift between a leader and a man just as vulnerable as everyone else. "Mom." Lucas's voice broke through her thoughts. She turned sharply to him, and in that moment, a group rushed past them, their panic palpable. Emma pulled Lucas closer, shielding him instinctively as they backed toward a barrier. "Where do we go?" Lucas cried, the fear thick in his voice. Emma's mind raced, hip deep in uncertainty but desperate to protect her son. "We just need to find a safe place, sweetie." The crowd erupted again, screams rising, drowning her words. In the distance, she could see Daniel moving through the throng, searching, calling out for someone. Would he find her? Did he realize how much she longed for him to turn the chaos back into calm? Just then, the lights flickered a final time, plunging the festival area into darkness. The collective gasp of the crowd sent a shiver down her spine, echoing the deep-seated fears she had kept buried for so long. Somewhere within the chaos, her determination blazed like a candle flickering in the dark. She had to act now for herself and for Lucas. But how could she do so while everything felt like it was falling apart around her? As the shadows enveloped them and the sirens pierced the air, she made a decision. "We're going to find Daniel. He'll know what to do." The thought was a lifeline, a flicker of hope in a night that threatened to swallow them whole. Clutching Lucas's hand, she pushed forward into the darkness, calling out for Daniel, praying he would hear her and that their moment of truth would finally arrive. Emma pushed through the dense crowd, the dark night wrapping around them like a heavy fog. With Lucas's hand tightly clasped in hers, she felt her heartbeat sync with the frantic pulse of the festival, now full of apprehension. The sirens' wails echoed ominously, yet deep inside, she sensed an indomitable spark of courage. They needed to find Daniel. He was their anchor. "Mom, I can't see anything." Lucas squeaked, panic rising in his voice. Emma knelt to his level, planting her hands on his shoulders. Look at me, buddy. We are going to be okay. Focus on my voice, all right. He nodded, albeit hesitantly. Gathering her breath, Emma called out for Daniel, her voice cutting through the chaos. Daniel. Where are you? Each call felt like a prayer echoed in the dark, a thread weaving through the panic. Just then, a flash flood of lights pierced the darkness. Authorities had turned on their searchlights, illuminating the chaos around them. And there, amidst the tangled mass of people, she saw him. Daniel. She shouted again, relief crashing over her like a wave. With renewed urgency, she tugged Lucas towards the glimmer of hope. Daniel stood vigilant, guiding people towards safety, his posture a beacon of strength. As they closed the distance, her heart thudded in her chest, each step reflecting the leap they were taking together. Daniel turned to see them, locking eyes with Emma, a mix of relief and determination washing over his features as he broke from the crowd. There you are. I was looking for you. His voice transformed the chaos into something tangible and warm, a safety net woven of shared history and hopes. Lucas, we need to stick together. It's all right, he reassured her son, kneeling so they were eye level. How about we get you some ice cream, huh? Lucas's eyes brightened, even in the tumult. But the fireworks will come back and see them. Promise, Emma said, ensuring her voice held comfort and resolve as she gripped Daniel's arm, feeling the connection they shared rekindle amidst the uncertainty. Over here. Daniel motioned towards an exit where emergency personnel guided people away from the chaos. They hurried into the light, a tentative calm settling around them as they moved out of the fray. Once outside the crowd, Emma turned to Daniel. I thought I was so scared. I had to find you. An unexpected softness melted his usual charisma. You found me. I'm glad. The moment cracked open for a breath, vulnerability surfacing amidst fleeting glances and the chaos now receding. Emma. It's not just the festival, he said, stepping closer, the gravity of their earlier unfinished conversation pulling them together. Everything is so unpredictable, but that's what makes what we go through together so important. I know. Her voice trembled slightly, reflecting the vulnerability that had been so expertly cloaked in ice for too long. She wanted to lay it all bare, the fear, the anger, and the dreams that had flitted by like shadows. I've been trying to start something new, but you're facing what's holding you back, he finished, a warm smile lighting up his eyes. You're doing more than you think, Emma. Today, you held space for someone in need. You were there. But there's so much at stake. What if I'm not enough? His expression turned serious, sincerity flowing through each syllable. You are enough. That's the truth. You just have to remember it. And right then, like a heartbeat slipping into perfect rhythm, Emma realized the layers of doubt she clung to could no longer bind her. Lucas twirled beside them, delight in his laughter bubbling once more, breaking the tension. Mom, can we go back? I think the fireworks are coming again. Yes, they're going to be amazing. Emma replied, glancing back at Daniel. Together? Together, he echoed, a spark igniting in his eyes. As they headed back toward the crowd, electric excitement hummed in the air, fireworks began to blossom overhead, igniting shards of color against the indigo sky. This burst of light mirrored the exhilaration rising in her chest, the new chapters unfolding, the fears fading, and the connections reigniting. Emma grasped Lucas's hand and Daniel's arm, feeling at home between them. Tonight hadn't just been about the festival, it was about reclaiming the pieces of her life, finding strength, and reconnecting with her past while boldly stepping into her future. With each firework that exploded overhead, she knew she was crafting a new story, one of resilience, love, and transformation. Let us make a wish. Lucas yelled, eyes wide with anticipation. They raised their hands against the sky, thoughts swirling with possibility. And with every spark that lit the night, Emma whispered her hope into the universe, knowing this was only the beginning. Now is the time to join this journey. You need to subscribe now to never miss another incredible story that will inspire and transform your life. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now because your engagement fuels this channel as fire. Comment down below how this story impacted you. I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Let us spread the message of hope together.